Good morning and welcome to Rising. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. We are hitting our holiday stride. We got Christmas trees in the back. You can't see them from your vantage point.
Oh, look now.
Oh, now
yes.
we can see them. There
That's
they are.
our view from our seats.
It's
we see
very
that
nice.
every morning.
And those are poinsettias?
Yes. Is that how you say poinsettias or poinsettias? I don't really know. I don't say it.
We never had any because I think they're poison to dogs, and I had dogs running around.
Okay.
I think.
Well, maybe
Don't quote me if
maybe
that's
we'll
not
get
accurate.
one. Maybe we can get a tree right here.
Yeah, dogs, cats, and children.
Oh,
Yeah, we don't want
okay.
to poison
Well, I
any
have
of
a
those
child
things.
and a dog, so maybe that's 2 out of 3.
We hope they live.
Coming up on Rising, the White House has launched a Media Offender of the Week website, yes, which I will be discussing in my lens later in the show.
You don't want to find yourself on Trump's not.
I might end up on it.
Plus, President Trump is saying that he's canceling all orders that President Biden signed with an auto pen.
And a university student claims she failed an assignment for citing the Bible, but someone else are saying that maybe her essay just wasn't good. But first, Robbie, what's on your radar?
These are some good topics. I can't wait to get to them. But first, just before the holiday commenced last week, a terrible tragedy occurred in Washington, D.C. A gunman opened fire on 2 National Guard troops just a few blocks from the White House. One was killed and another was wounded. Now is the time for thoughts and prayers for the family of the slain guardsman, whose name is Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, and for Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, who's currently fighting for his life. Thoughts and prayers for them. Yet some in the mainstream media are already pointing the blame for this hideous act of violence, not at the alleged killer who's in custody, but on the national political climate, or more specifically on the decision by President Donald Trump to deploy the Guard to D.C. in the first place. That's contemptible, it's disgusting, and it's wrong. The blameworthy party is actually, of course, the alleged shooter. Now, this suspect, who was apprehended in the immediate aftermath of the attack, is Ramanallah Lakhanwal, a native of Afghanistan who came to the U.S. in 2021 during the Biden administration. Lakhanwal is one of thousands of such people who were given high priority to come to the U.S. as American forces withdrew from Afghanistan. The administration's view was that Afghanis who aided us against the Taliban should not be abandoned to reprisals from Islamic extremists, and Lakhanwal was one such person. He, of course, worked for a unit called a so-called Zero Unit. In other words, he actually helped the CIA hunt down extremists. The decision to let him and his family come to America is thus perfectly understandable. He helped the U.S. kill bad guys in Afghanistan. Some on the right have tried to score political points by saying that insufficient vetting on the part of the Biden administration was the problem here, and the reason that a violent man got through, but it does seem to be the case that this person was vetted and was also correctly deemed eligible. His descent into madness and violence occurred after he had moved to the U.S., according to reports. He stopped talking to his children, he secluded himself in a dark room, he took sudden cross-country road trips, in this case all the way from Seattle to Washington, D.C., where he allegedly committed this appalling crime. So it does not appear to be the case that he somehow got through into the U.S. when he shouldn't have. But by the same token, it's morally appalling to say that the mere presence of the National Guard in D.C. somehow inspired or encouraged the actions of this deranged person. Yet that is precisely what some in the mainstream media are suggesting. The Atlantic's Juliette Kayyem shamefully said the tragedy was avoidable and that Trump had been warned that members of the military could be attacked. She writes, there are costs to performatively deploying members of the military, one of which is the risk of endangering them. I mean, yes, in a sense, she's correct. It is true they could be attacked. Police can be attacked too. But we aren't going to abolish the police in order to protect the cops because their job is to help keep us safe. Having no army and no police force whatsoever would reduce the specific threat of violence against such authority figures, but only hardcore leftists think that's a good idea. It would make the rest of us less safe. The New Yorker's Jane Mayer had an even worse take, writing this on X. This is so tragic, so unnecessary. These poor guardsmen should never have been deployed. I live in D.C. and watched as they had virtually nothing to do but pick up trash. It was for political show, and at what cost? First, the implication that the decision to deploy the Guard to the streets of D.C. was some reckless miscalculation that put them in harm's way is just patently absurd. But I also object to the idea that they had virtually nothing to do but pick up trash. Well, some of what the police do is just standing around. It may look like they're doing nothing to you. What they're actually doing is deterring opportunistic crime. There are fewer carjackings and shopliftings if the police are nearby. There are fewer muggings and stabbings and spontaneous fights breaking out. I live near a CBS, and there's usually a police car parked in front of it. That cop may seem like he's doing nothing. He often is doing nothing. But what he's actually doing is decreasing the likelihood that a bunch of teens will rob that store, as they had previously. Now, look, is this the right job for the National Guard? Okay, it's fine if you think they should not be deployed for that reason. Perfectly willing to have that conversation. You're free to say that. You are not free to say that the presence of the Guard has had no discernible benefit. As political strategist Logan Dobson pointed out on X, National Guard deployed to D.C. on August 11th. From August 11th through today, there have been 24 D.C. homicides. In the identical time period last year, there were 61. The National Guard have absolutely saved lives in D.C. It's an insult to say they've done nothing. Indeed, they are heroes for what they are doing. And again, our thoughts and prayers are with those who were shot and injured and killed in the recent attack.
Yeah, I think that it's important to start with that sentiment because you and I haven't talked about this. So sending, first and foremost, thoughts and prayers to Sarah Beckstrom's family, one of the National Guard members that was actually killed, but also I read from Attorney General Pam Bondi that Sarah actually volunteered to work on the Thanksgiving holiday and raised her hand to do that, and to be killed in the line of duty, whether you think National Guards should be here or not, is to me always, and you and I agree on this often, is always the wrong time to have some politically charged conversation. When we were in limbo, I know because I was filling in on the Hill on News Nation, and we didn't know if the person was alive because we were getting the wrong information from West Virginia leadership.
Right. The governor initially reported they had both been killed and had to walk that back. It's a good reminder to just hold your fire, people.
You don't need to be first. You need to
even
be
if
right.
You're not opining anything political, just wait till we got our facts straight to say anything.
Exactly.
Is a good lesson.
And I think with families on edge, knowing how many different people were deployed in the National Guard all over D.C. and not knowing the names of the people, for a tweet like that to go out from leadership was unfortunate. But just the entire circumstance of what happened over was supposed to be a beautiful time of coming together is tragic. At the same time, the president's response to send up to 500 more troops to D.C., I don't think is the correct response. And not because there should be some fear from our National Guard of coming to D.C., a place where the president has jurisdiction possibly to make that decision. We know he's in the middle of a case right now where it was deemed illegal for him to have National Guard on the street, and they're waiting until December 11th to move forward, giving his team a chance to appeal that decision. But the National Guard are reservist troops that come here. And so you said you're welcome to having the conversation about them being here and what they actually do. I mean, they have limited power and they can't even enforce any laws. They can't make arrests. And so, yes, the presence, I will agree with you. Seeing them as somebody who moves around D.C. very freely now, whether I'm driving or taking the train, seeing them actually makes me feel protected and safe. And I'm sure other people scared to do any actions they might think otherwise.
Disincentivizing bad public behavior.
Certainly.
That's what their presence is doing.
But understanding the actual role of what a reservist troops look like and actually can do, a criminal who wants to move forward will know, well, they can't technically be tackled and taken down and arrested by a National Guard member. And so that might not deter them.
Well, they can be tackled and taken down, and then they can be detained.
They can call the other
police to come arrest them.
Yeah, but if they run away, it's like, what do we do? Like, what are the exact parameters? Which is why when you bring in
If
federal,
they run away, they're going to get chased and tackled and detained until. Look, but my point is, it is offensive to say that Trump. You might think this is not a good use of their time, and that we shouldn't send more troops. That's perfectly fine. I to some extent agree with that. But it's like inviting attacks on them, like we're sending them to Afghanistan or something. That, yes, involving American troops in Africa, in the Middle East, I'm against that because it does invite attacks on them. Not in our own country, not on the streets of D.C. This isn't the third world. This is not inviting attacks on them, and I'm offended by those tweets from liberal media people who suggested that it was somehow the government's fault for putting them in harm's way. That's not what's happening here.
We're going to keep talking about this. Up next, President Trump says he will be terminating President Biden's orders that were signed by an auto pen. We'll be right back.